Ever since I was a young boy, I dreamed of only one thing, and that's becoming intermediate. Happy to announce that I finally did it, and I want to help you guys get to my intermediate level. So today we're talking about some cool stuff. This is gonna cover a lot of different things. One thing, if you've ever wondered what a 2-5-1 is, the whole thing of this lesson is going to be built around a 2-5-1, but not in some weird, creepy jazz way. In a very effective, concise, musical way that you can use for anything. All right. So, what do I mean by a 2-5-1 anyway? This is, I think, numbering chords is something that you really need to understand to really get to an intermediate level that is going to help you blossom all over the place, right? So if we're going to do something in the key of C, right? All this means is we're just going to use the notes in the key of C. You don't even have to know the notes. It definitely helps because it goes along with the numbering system. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1. Just the letters of the alphabet. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Okay, those numbers become chords. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 4, and 5 are major chords, 2, 3, and 6 are minor chords. 7 is a half diminished chord, all right? So I can play all these as a chord scale. I'm just gonna breeze right through these. I'll link you to another video if you've never kind of experimented with chords as numbers. But basically play all the chords in the key of C. We have C major as the 1 chord, D minor is the 2 chord, E minor as the 3 chord, F major as the 4 chord, G major as the 5 chord, A minor as the 6 chord, B minor 7 flat 5 as the 7 chord back to C, okay? That brings us home, points us home. It's time to go home to get to C. Speaking of time, real quick, this video is sponsored by Original Grain. That's why I'm blinged out with this incredible watch. If you use the discount code in the description, you get a hefty percentage off the sale of this watch, like $100 even. This is awesome. This is made from reclaimed Hawaiian koa wood from Taylor Guitars, the runoff in the Taylor process. So it's a very cool guitar-themed watch. They have a bunch of other different watches. Father's Day is coming up soon, so get one for yourself. Get one as a gift. There's a link in the description. Like I said, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this watch because it's 18 karat gold, and that's why I feel so fancy. I feel even more advanced from an intermediate stage because I'm wearing this Original Grain watch. Like I said, we'll talk a little bit more about this company later, but this video is sponsored by the watch, so try not to get distracted by this incredible bling. All right, so if I have any chord progression in the key of C, let's do something 1 to 4, all right? C is 1, C, D, E, F, F is 4. I think a 1 to 4 is a very uplifting, great chord progression in any key, right? We got a C to 4. Really easy to make that chord. I always like playing that C with the G and the bass note because then I can just use, see, I've got my ring finger and pinky on 3E and 3A, my middle finger on 2D, and then I can just keep my pointer finger where it is, move those 3 down, and that gives me the 4 chord. 1 to 4. You can do some ham rounds with your middle finger. That's pretty intermediate. Now, what does a 2-5-1 have to do with a 1 to 4, you might ask? Well, a 2-5-1 is a great transition to get you back to 1, okay? So, for an example, let's do a chord progression in this manner, 1 to 4, but when I want to end it, I'm going to go 2-5-1. And again, remember 2 in the key of C was D minor, 5 is G major, and back to 1, okay? So let's go C to F, 4. 1, 4, 2, 5, 1. See how that kind of really sets it up for a fitting end, all right? So I think one of the main reasons to learn this is just to think of it as a way to point yourself in a certain direction. If I'm just going 1 to 4, 1 to 4, it can kind of just keep going on forever, right? A fitting end would get that 2, 5, 1. Okay, so it's a great way to kind of announce or point a direction what you're doing. Now, I think another really cool way to use this is to point to a different chord in the key, okay? For example, let's say I want to use another chord that's really popular in this key, A minor. I want to have a totally different, maybe a second part of a song or something like that. I want to go to A minor. Or maybe it's a song that I already know that I'm just going from a C major part into an A minor part. This doesn't have to be creating your own song. It's definitely very helpful if you're creating chord progressions in something creative that you're doing. But you can use this in interpretations of existing songs, right? So say I want to go C to F, and then I eventually want to go to like a A minor part, but I want it to have like a little more substance. I want it to point in that A minor. So what I can do is I can think of A as being my new 1, and then get a 2-5-1 in this same key, but make A the 1. So again, it's really actually kind of easy to find a 2-5-1 no matter where you are, because it's like, all right, you find your target spot. A is my target spot, A being minor in this key. All right, 2 is always really easy to find. It's just the next note, right? So B, if A is 1, B is 2. Now we went through that chord scale earlier. I know that this is B's chord in the key of C. B minor 7 flat 5, 2A, 3D, 2G, 3B. Okay, so that's 2. What's the 5 of A? A, B, C, D, E. That's really easy, right? I could do an E minor. E minor is that chord in this key. Or what's really, really common is using a 5 as a dominant 7 chord. So even though this note right here, again, if an E7 is open to open 1, open, open. So even though this note right here is a G sharp, it's not in my key, I'm using it to point to something, all right? So for example, I'm gonna do that same thing with a C to F, and then 2-5-1 resolve on C, C, F, 2-5-1 it, D minor, G, then C. Maybe I'm going back to F. Now I want to do my 2-5-1 to A. B minor 7. It's almost like a magic trick, because I was just doing that thing that was very C-centric. Still blinged out. Am I becoming a watch guy? This watch is so nice. I love it. So it's like, this is interesting because I'm not really leaving the key, but I'm kind of leaving the key, but I'm really changing the tonal center. That's what's really cool about a 2-5-1, is it changes that tonal center. It was so built around C, but as soon as I hit that B, E, A minor, it's like now all of a sudden I'm in A minor, is like what it seems like, right? And then how about this? What was that I just did right there? This is like the next level of this magic trick, all right? Which, again, there's no better way for me to describe really, because, again, we're starting on C to F. We get 2-5-1 from there, D minor, G, back to C. I want to get to A, B, E7A. What did I just do here? I'll do it again. You see where I ended up? I ended up on this F major, right? Well, it's like you ended up on F major, so then F is the one, right? 2-5-1 from F. Again, really easy. What's the note after F? It's a G. Now, in this key, in the key of C, let's say we're staying there, G major would be the key, right? Or the G major would be the chord in this key. But right there, I just made it minor. And then the 5 chord, F, G, A, B, C. C would now be the 5 chord of F. I'm gonna point it to F, so I'm gonna make that a C dominant 7, which is 3A, 2D, 3G, 1B, and then have that go to F, right? And now I'm back at F, I can really go to something familiar, and then I'm back at C. So we just went on like a journey, an actual journey with guitar where major chords were turning into minor chords, we were adding different notes into the key, but in a very fluid way, right? And that's the cool thing about having a 2-5-1 and understanding how maybe you can kind of like move around within a key to make just like cool sounding stuff, right? So I want to do that one more time. So we've got C major, the whole main progression is C to F. Firmly in this intermediate land, I want to get to A from here, right? So what's the first thing we do to A? B, E7, then A. Do it again. I can use it as a progression and not as a transition. Then I want to go G minor. I'm just gonna sit here, C7, F. Again, that was a 2-5-1 to get to F. It doesn't always have to be a 2-5-1. It can be a 2. Sit on it for a minute. 5, 1, D minor, G7. So again, we just really kind of explored so much territory just by 2-5-1ing about. And again, I like to think of 2-5-1s as just root notes that you can kind of do different things with, right? We for sure easily could have stayed within the key the entire time. Once I hit that G minor 7, which again, if you don't know, this one is just the 3rd fret on the E string, skip the A string, 3, 3, 3, all the way down. And that's what kind of gets you to C7, 3, 2, 3, 1. To F, but we could still kind of think of these things diatonically, staying in the key of C, 2-5-1ing to F, which would be G major. That'd be the 2 of F. 5 of F is C, C major, F, right? See, that's G. Or G to C to F. And it sounds right because those are notes in the key of C. So these are just different ways of kind of moving around. Now there's a bunch of different single note melody lines that I think are really going to open up the fretboard that we're going to talk about soon. But I want to tell you a little bit more about Original Grain because it is their 11th year anniversary. Really cool company. It's only been around for 11 years now, so that's why this is one of the biggest sales you can get. So they've been making watches from unique materials all 11 years. I think what's something that's really cool is you can buy a bunch of different watches that are not guitar themed, so they have like a lot of cool things. Every time they sell a watch, they plant a tree, and they've planted over 500,000 trees. So environmentally friendly, you can feel good about that. It's a veteran and family-owned company started by 2 brothers in the Pacific Northwest. They also make watches from other sustainable materials like reclaimed wood, from Taylor guitars, reclaimed whiskey and bourbon barrels, which are crazy. They have a Jack Daniels partnership. Reclaimed German oak beer barrels, palm wood. They've got a Bob Marley partnership if you're a Bob Marley fan. They've even got a Toyota partnership, which is out of control. So no matter what you resonate with, there's some kind of watch out here that is gonna have you covered. So definitely, please check that link in the description. You're gonna wanna check it out. Use the code Sean at originalgrade.com/Sean and get an extra 10% site-wide, up to $100 off for this Father's Day sale. Thank you so much to Original Grain for hooking up the watch, which comes in an awesome box too. Check one out for yourself, all right? Now, let's talk a little bit more about how you can do this on other keys, how you do this with single notes, all right? One thing about just the way that a guitar is tuned, which is really interesting, remember, the first one we did was a C, D, G. Well, if you look at like the first note that you play, the root note here, it's just the 3rd fret of the A string. Right there we have a C, right? Remember, 2 is just a full step up, right? So the 5th fret on the A string is a D. And remember we said D is a 2. 2, 5, 1. One easier way I think to visualize it is just thinking of going straight down a string, because if we have 5 on the A string, then we go down a string, 5 on the D string, this is a G, down another string, it's 5 on the G string, that's a C. 2, 5, 1. Or make it even easier, right? You can just do open strings. Anytime you do, until you get to the B string, anytime you just go down the strings, one after another, it's a 2, 5, 1, right? So if you're having trouble thinking of that, let's say the one we want to get to, think of any location on the D string. Let's think of D major as our 1 chord. It's really easy to find a 2, 5, 1 because it's just E, A, D, right? So if D major is our new key, I'm just going to strum a D major to kind of get the tonal center there. 2, 5, 1 is super easy. E minor, A, 7, D. And that just came from knowing 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1. I think one of the biggest things about becoming, intermediate, more advanced is really kind of seeing every single note and the potential to have a chord. Or play that chord one note at a time as an arpeggio, okay? So just like you can do that, 2, 5, 1, let's do it now on right here. Let's go A, D, G. How is this a 2, 5, 1? Whatever, you already know that whatever that first note is a 2, the next note is the 5, the next note is the 1. So this is A, D, G, or A, D, G, right? So A minor, D7, G, 2, 5, 1. Now how this helps with, maybe soloing or something like that, think of the arpeggio. I like doing the fretted ones instead of the open ones because they're a little easier to move around. So 2, 5, 1, okay? This is like a cool exercise that you can do because we have a 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1. All right, what I mean by that, these are just notes in the chord. So A minor, you can always play like this. Instead of playing it as a chord, you play it one at a time. A, C, E. No matter where you are, there's the E string, 5A. We go to get the minor third right there. 3 on the A string is a C. And then slide to the 5th. I like doing it like this, ring finger, pointer finger, ring finger from the 5th to the 7th fret. You could also do it like this with more of maybe like a reach. That's a great thing to practice, like something like that. But the nice thing about this, there's the 2 chord, and that lines you up with the 5 chord. Again, there's D, 5 on the A string, 4 on the D string, 7 on the D string. That's the 5 chord. You can make it a dominant 7 chord if you want, but I'm just doing simple arpeggios, and that brings us back to 1. Right, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1. So as soon as you start seeing notes as potential to become chords, you can start fleshing those out, and your playing gets so much better. I promise you it gets so much better. And then you start making connections all throughout the fretboard. Another really cool way to do like 2, 5, 1 in C, or any key, remember? D minor, G, C is that 2, 5, 1. Let's do this D minor here. This is such an easy, efficient way. Here's a D minor bar chord. You don't even have to bar it. Just root it on the A string, 5, 7, 7, 6. There's our 2. Our 5, just get this right here, right? Look how easy that is. I just move my pinky down to the B string, 8th fret. My ring finger just down a string to the 7th fret. It was already there. And my pointer finger is already on the 5th fret right there. There's a G chord. D minor, G major, C. And then C is just right there. 5, 5, 5. Right? 2, 5, 1. Super set. Doesn't get any easier than that, right? I could even do that arpeggios. 2, 5, 1. 2, 5, 1. So easy. 2, 5, 1. 2, 5, 1. So all those are 3 different ways to think about it, right? We have the main open chords, 2, 5, 1. We have this one shape, where it's a bar chord, everything kind of comes in that same position. And then we have the arpeggios. D is the 10th fret on the E string, 2, 5, 1. Again, D minor, G major, 10A, 9D, 12D, and that brings us right back to C. Okay, so a lot of information covered here. So you're gonna need to know what time it is because the time is gonna be flying by when you practice all this stuff. I really think the number one important thing to practice this is to think about a target chord wherever you're going. Let's say, like, here's like a super quick, maybe like over the top example of if we're just jamming out, like, let's say the whole progression is just C major, really common progression. F, A minor, G. Okay, so we can number this chord progression as a 1, 4, 6, 5 in C, but let's treat every one of those chords as a target that we're gonna get to by 2, 5, 1 in it. There should be a better verb for that instead of 2, 5, 1 in it, but anyways, here we go. So I'm gonna go from a C to a F, right? So remember, what's an F? Okay, so for F, I gotta go 2, 5, 1. If F is 1, G minor is 2, C7, there. So instead of going from just C to F, I can go C to F. See how that just kind of made some really quick action? I went back to C7, C major, G7, C7, F. The next one is A minor. Remember that one? B, E, A minor. I gotta go to G next. What's G? G's A. I'm already on the 1. How about that? Or I'm on the 2 actually. The 2, 5, 1. And then back to C. 2, 5, 1. So for that one, I kept that B minor 7, 5, 5. That easily could have been a B minor as the 2 and A minor, right? It's all about just using the root note as a way to track and then maybe experiment with other chords that you like the sound of. I'll do the whole thing one more time. C, F, A minor, G. C, gotta get to the F. I'm gonna hang on this F, I gotta get to that A, right? A minor. I wanna get to G. A minor, G. And then I end up back on C, right? So no matter what you are, you can, it sounds impressive because it's like, wow, that guy knows a lot of chords, but really I'm just 2, 5, 1 in it to a simple 4-chord progression, and then it sounds really cool. That's why jazz people like it a lot, because it's just a way to like flex your jazz muscles. Beyond that, it's really just a way to learn the fretboard, and again, you have these cool little 2, 5, 1 tricks just going down a string. Learning a lot. So that is how you become an intermediate guitar player. One of many ways. Thank you to Original Grain for sponsoring the video. If you guys have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, or the website. I'll talk to you all soon.